Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at Diablo.net, and I am your host, Flux. I am joined on the show tonight by HolyKnight.
Hey, what's up?
And by Nerdwords.
Hello.
And HolyKnight, for a long time, first time, no time, sometime. You're our regular news poster and fan art expertise dude. And wallpapers. Remember wallpapers?
Still doing them.
Remember before Diablo 3 came out, there were like 50 wallpapers a week. We're all excited.
Yes, those were the days.
It's been a while. They're still around, though.
Yep.
It has.
Hundreds.
People still remember like way before launch, you did like iPad and like smartphone wallpapers. No one even knew what they were.
Yeah, and
it's like that's like a common thing now. So
isn't it funny like this? I mean,
now nobody knows what a desktop wallpaper is. Like, why would you need one that big? My iPad's only got like 800 by 600.
No, they need 4K. They want 4K, man. They're asking.
Exactly. Okay, so last week we covered the top general news stuff, and then we did the top 10 barbarian skills with some arguments on that. We were going to do crusader skills tonight, but we had a little last minute casting change, so we're doing wizard skills instead. As you will know if you listen to this podcast regularly, or even semi-regularly, or even maybe just once ever, Nerdwords is pretty much all about the wizards. So, much like I only play Demon Hunters anymore, he only plays wizards, except he actually has time to play the game, so he actually does play wizards.
Sometimes I do.
I played a lot of wizard way back in Diablo 3 Vanilla. It was actually my favorite class going into the game, and then it kind of worked out to not be my favorite class in practice. But
yeah.
Talking about his top 10 wizard skills and some other wizard stuff, and HolyKnight has played a little bit of wizard, and at least has seen them in like videos and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Veer said last season was great.
And do you only you usually stand in the back behind all your I'm so bad. If I know any World of Warcraft stuff, I gotta actually make a really good joke there about how you think it's a World of Warcraft wizard, and there's like tanks and paladins and whatever, and clerics. But I don't even know the game enough to make a joke to where it would seem like a World of Warcraft wizard. So just pretend I did that. It was pretty funny. Okay, that was awesome. Anyway, so you also know a little about all Warcraft stuff, and you could have probably made a Warcraft. Do you play a wizard in Warcraft?
That would be a monk. Oh, no, was it? No, it's mage.
Close enough, same thing.
Yep. I have one, but don't play it, really. She's kind of rotting.
And, of course, as we've joked in the past, Nerdwords, your favorite wizard is in another Blizzard game as well, where they actually have functional ranged attacks.
Dude, I've actually been playing so much Heroes of the Storm lately, and yeah, Wizard's really, really good in that game, too. I still like the Wizard in Diablo more, but moderately.
You only play Wizard in Heroes of the Storm?
No, I do play a little Tyrael in Diablo, but I do keep it Diablo-centric. But Wizard I do have at level 10 with the Master Skin.
I was just going to laugh if you only played Wizard in that game, too.
Honestly, the last 2 weeks, that kind of has been the way it's been going, but I do kind of switch it up.
So we're going to get to the Wizard top 10 stuff in a little bit. We're going to do some general news first. And just this week, a few days ago, the whole PTR busted out with the next patch. We're not going to go into every bit of detail on that. That will be the entire show. We're just going to hit a couple of highlights here, some of the major changes. And Nerdwords has been plowing through the patch notes and looking over that. I have just started skimming them myself. I'm like busy with like work and stuff, and I have relatives coming into town over the weekend, so not much time to do anything. But so name a couple of the biggest PTR patch changes you see here, Nerdwords. Why don't you start off with the Wizard Firebug thing, because that's your favorite topic. How do you feel about them not patching it this season, and how do you feel about the PTR changes?
Without going into a rant, they are changing.
What do you mean without going into a rant? That's what we're for here.
Well, I'm going to save ranting on Firebirds for at least a little bit later. But the Firebirds, they're completely redesigning the set. The the 2-piece remains intact. It's still the Meteor falling and saving your life. The 4-piece and 6-piece sets have been retooled. Now you have to ignite the monsters by hitting them with 3 different fire spells, and then the buff against it still stacks up to 3,000% damage. So it still kind of works the same way, but rather than just setting an enemy on fire and gaining all these stacks, you gain stacks by igniting them, by hitting them with 3 spells. So you have to essentially have 3 fire spells on your bar to get the same thing you were doing before. And they nerfed it from 2,500% damage down to 2,000% damage on elites. So it also took kind of a chop off the old block. Now, mind you, it's PTR, so we don't know how it's going to go as far as live goes. And they have a focus feedback forum up. But right now it is vastly underperforming what it's doing on live, obviously, because it's not doing the same bug, but it's still bugged. The stacks aren't stacking properly. It's just the same problem we've had with Archon since the beginning, or with Firebird since the beginning, and they're finally paying a little bit more attention to it. But it's still underperforming. It will, at its current iteration, will not be anywhere competitive on the leaderboard or anywhere near anything next season.
It sounds like they're just making it hard to use just to get back at you guys for bugging it, basically.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the Wizard's life. I mean, all of our sets kind of work in a really weird or wonky way that's juggling different buffs and abilities and casting spells just to get a buff rather than to cast it to do damage or to protect yourself. It's always been a strange class, but Firebird's definitely kind of pushed it over the edge.
It's funny because they bitch about like focus restraint and other stuff that's been the same way, where they don't want you using some skill just to enable some buff, and then that's like the entire wizard macro.
Yeah,
Now you're just using 2 skills to enable a buff, or even 3 skills.
Yes, yeah, no, and it requires that because your damage is so low to moderate without those modifiers and set bonuses.
So wouldn't you just pick 3 fire skills that hit everything on the screen or everything in reach very quickly and easily just to get the buff going?
Well, the problem is, too, that's also bugged. So they don't want, procs to proc a proc, right? They always say that. But right now, Tal's Meteor and the Meteor when you die from Firebirds and, like, fire damage on a weapon will all proc it currently. But it's still not enough to mitigate the damage lost from the set. And Talros's just has more survivability at the top end, so that's the other part of it, too, is that Firebirds doesn't have a mitigation. They have a cheat death, which is awesome, but it doesn't have mitigation built into the set like Talros's, Delstairs, and most other successful 6-piece sets do. So they're going to have to address that at some point, just whether that's now or later. We were just pushing so much damage that it wasn't as seen, and we could just kind of get by with Halo and APD like usual. But when you have to stand a little bit longer in some mobs, you start to notice how much, you're missing that 25% reduction from your slow time or from Talros's. So they still got to do some work on it, but we're just starting the PTR, so hopefully it'll get a little better. You also had the Greater Rift change, too. Well, actually, the biggest one's the Torment change. Now Torment 11 through 13 have been added to the game, which is ridiculous.
Isn't it kind of funny they only went to 13?
Like, I thought that kind of
unlucky number.
Me.
Instead of going like 12 or 14 or 15 or something.
Yeah, it bothers my OCD, but I mean maybe it's trying to keep in with the aesthetic of Diablo, or I don't know how it would. I guess it's just weird. Have you played that at all yet, HolyKnight?
I haven't had much chance yet because I've been working pretty good too lately. So
yeah, I've been working a bunch too. I just got to jump in a little bit. I did do a Torment 13 Rift, and the loot was ridiculous. It's a Greater Rift 60 difficulty, roughly. The biggest change, too, aside from that, is they also evened out the XP, gold, and drop rates from those. So now doing a Torment 10 Rift, you'll get the same rewards you would have got from a Greater Rift 45. So you're actually like able to do speed 60s by doing Torment 13 runs and getting loot along with all the XP you were getting before, so that's pretty cool. I haven't played it enough to know how much it's going to affect, but obviously that's going to be a power creep, obviously.
So what do you think about the current Firebirds thing, not fixing the bug for the season? I mean, are you taking wild advantage of that, or is it just to make you annoyed that any asshole can play Wizards?
I haven't even tested it. I know I listened to the last podcast. I know that he had tested it, at least like to play with it at 75. I haven't even messed with it because it's. I mean, I honestly I'm playing Firebird's Archon, but I'm running the Shantoto's meta that was kind of there before, and it's still competitive with it, even without it being bugged. Now it still makes use of like the Firebird's grossly inflated damage, but it's not like I'm not like running out and tagging an elite and then not killing elites and skipping stuff, not igniting. I'm actually like playing the Rift, and there are wizards out there that are too that are still able to push well over 100. So this whole change we kind of knew or had to have known was coming. But I think I'm glad that Blizzard said, hey, this is okay, because it's better than them saying nothing, and at least we know that if worse comes to worse, we can compete by using that build. I don't like that it's being left unchecked for the whole season. I actually kind of hate it a lot.
But they've said in the past, they don't want to make big changes during seasons unless they're benefiting other classes
They've made
than the Wizard or
changes
Barbarian.
to the Wizard class bigger than this in seasons.
So you think that just because there's nobody working on the game anymore, they couldn't fix it and they said, screw it, it's too much trouble?
I honestly think that they're kind of throwing up their hands at this point. I mean, this is, the third iteration now on Firebirds, and now when it goes PTR, the fourth. So it's like they don't know what to do with the set, and honestly, they need to just come up with they need to just wipe it and start over, because the burning mechanic in and of itself has always been buggy, whether it doesn't work, or it does work but it works too much, or it bugs with other set bonuses. In a perfect world where you only have, Firebirds, then sure, I'm sure it works unbuggy. But when you're wearing Focus and Restraint, or different damage modifiers, or you run Archon, or you run Veers with Archon, and you stack all these multipliers together, the math somewhere is making Firebirds just inflate, and I don't think they know where to even begin.
Coding is hard.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, I don't blame them. Like, I would just say, just make something, just do flat damage. Like, just make Meteor get 5,000 increased damage. Throw that on the PTR, and let's just see if that even makes a difference. Like, something different. Like, because the burning mechanic has just been broken from day one, and it remains to be.
Well, if they did it with 5,000, the day before the patch, they'd drop it down to 500, and they'd be like, "Oh, why are you guys pissed? What's wrong?"
Yeah, well, that's what they did 2 seasons ago. They had it to this level.
Well, the Barbarians did every season. So.
Well, yeah, 3 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top rankings currently, and Wizards are all like 105. There's like 90 Wizards over 100 on seasonal, not hardcore Americas.
Oh, wow.
Probably varies for a little bit other classes, but other classes are all in the mid-90s. There's a Demon Hunter at 98, so it's not like Wizards are like 20 GRs higher with this.
Right, but what you're not seeing is that the minimum, so to even get on the leaderboards, it's 90, 91. What's the minimum on the other classes? I guarantee you it's in the 70s to 75s. 14,
actually. If you can clear GR20, if you can actually earn the page 2 bonus with a Demon Hunter, you're on the charts.
Mm. Well, the whole...
There's one Demon Hunter, like 5 GRs of everybody else. I wonder how he managed that.
Just fishing. He's actually...
Some guy did 98, and next best is 94, and then 93. I don't know. It's just thought to be that much. Yeah, the lowest on Demon Hunter is like 78, 79, so...
Yeah,
the lowest on Wizards 102, so there you go. Okay, it's not that bad.
It's 90, though, easy, because I know it was 90 when I checked it the other day. But yeah, no, it's also that if you checked that leaderboard a week ago, 2 weeks ago...
It's 91 now, actually. 91 and 1441 to get on the Wizard top 1,000.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Like, to even begin to compete. 91.
What's the best you've done using a non-bugged set?
Using non-bugged set, I've done 87. No, I'm 85. I did an 88 in group. I've done higher than that in like 4-player like meta groups, because the meta can use the basically the difference is that I use Shantoto's Firebirds rather than Beer's Firebirds with the Aetherwalker. Like there's a couple different variations, but those are the 2 pretty much main ones that are being pushed. I know like Al Kaiser or whatever, he was using the same build, and it has become super meta. But you'll see a few of them peppered through there. They're not all using the bug. It is still possible to clear that high with a real Firebirds clear, but I guess it's still too much.
Yeah, the other classes are all like in the high 70s or 80 at best for like number 1,000, and Wizards 91. So obviously there's a little more
perspective.
And the ceiling's not that much higher, but the floor's a lot higher.
Yeah.
Have you cleared GR90 this season, HolyKnight?
No, I'm actually...
So why not?
Very minimum 70 because I just barely got it. I had to change...
So you're too busy winning Taco Bell prizes. Yeah, tell our listeners what you're using on your head for this podcast.
For this podcast, I'm wearing a Reaper thingy from the Overwatch contest from Taco Bell. I just won it from my mom's cup. Hey, only bought a cup. Just one.
Does everything sound better?
Yeah, definitely. And you guys can hear me better, too.
Is it like glow purple or something? Is it cool?
No, but it's really kind of nice.
I'm
red and black.
So jealous. Yeah, I wanted to win that thing so damn bad. Taco Bell.
You ate your weight in bean burritos for that, Nerdwords, and you got nothing.
All I got was massive amounts of shit.
Well, that's what Taco Bell leads to, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I eat it too regularly to really complain because I still, I eat it. It's like I live 0.3 miles from work, and it's between here and work. So it's just like, well, since it's that, I literally don't have to go out of my way at all to get Taco Bell. So it's like, well, it's right here. It's quick. Whatever.
You have to go out of your way to get rid of Taco Bell.
Yeah, oh, yes, most definitely.
Well, one day when you get an apartment with a stove and a refrigerator, you can actually buy food instead of just getting fast food on the way home from work.
Yeah, but see, or
perhaps you need to get married. Don't cook you dinner.
Right. When I come home, I pretty much clean up. If I'm not going out and doing something, I just play games. And if I have to eat, then it's usually something frozen or whatever. I used to cook. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Ramen.
You're an encouragement to all of our listeners.
Ramen and mac and cheese is life.
There you go.
So any other PTR big changes you're excited about coming up soon here? Is your Spike Trap Demon Hunter in the wings now?
No, I don't even know what the hell that's about. They did add
like half PTR looks like Spike Traps being reworked. Like the one Demon Hunter no one has ever wanted to play or cared about. Hey, we're making it awesome now.
Well, they added in a supporting legendary too. They added in a few supporting legendaries. They added some affixes to weapons.
Yeah, all for Spike Trap.
Yeah, exactly. And then the wizard got like a lightning one, which looks really interesting, but I don't know how that's performing at all yet. Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty interesting changes, more so with the game than classes, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. The big one I think that's going under the radar is that Akarat's is now for Crusader multiplicative. I feel like that's huge. I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know. I feel like Leviathan would know more, but I feel like making that.
He was supposed to be here right now talking about the Crusader, but he had to bail out for some family stuff. So maybe next week he can come on here and tell us about Akarat's.
But yeah,
Crusader
that seems interesting, but I'm still not sure. But yeah, I mean, and then the whole Greater Rift thing, that's really Greater Rift scaling and the regular rifts, adding in the new torments and stuff. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you got to keep up with the power creep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it keeps with the power creep. Would we mean like Torment 25 to keep up with power creep the way things are going?
Yeah.
I give it probably Torment 30 within the next year or two, maybe 3 at most. I'm pushing it. I know I am.
30. At some point, we'll just get this big push just to rebalance everything. Just like divide everything by like a reverse stock split. Just cut everything by 10.
Stat squish, as they call it in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, eventually the numbers are just you're getting 50 billion crits on like your starting skill at level 14. It's like, okay, maybe we should like rework this a little bit.
Maybe so.
Yeah, maybe. It worked.
But bigger is better, right?
Hey,
I mean,
people like to see the big numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I'm having a lot of fun with this season. I've probably played more this season than I have any season so far, and so that's
that last
cool.
season too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously. But
at some point, you can't play more season every season because then there's math involved.
But yeah, no, I'm still, I don't know. I like, even with the power creep, I'm still enjoying it a lot and having a lot of fun. Just obviously you're pushing harder content, but adding in these torments is definitely interesting. I wasn't looking forward to it or wanting it at all, but the fact that they made the greater rifts and rifts have the same rewards definitely makes it more interesting. So doing a greater rift 60 with the loot from or doing a torment 13 rift with the loot from a greater rift 60 is pretty cool, I'll say.
Because more loot.
More is more.
Yeah, I'm like skimming over the wizard the demon hunter spike trap skills. I'm like, I would not be doing this even if I was doing this. I don't care. I don't play a demon hunter to do crunchy, crappy trap melee bullshit.
They could try to
play wizard.
They could be like
if I wanted to do melee attacks, I'd play a wizard, right, Nerdwords?
Yeah, well, or any other class in the game, yeah. But yeah.
So what have you been playing lately at HolyKnight? You feel a little bit of Crusader. You're not anything exciting for the new PTR coming up, or you're just enjoying the season somewhat?
I'm just enjoying the season. I mean, whenever I can. That's why I'm almost done with the seasonal journey. Just got to level the hardcore character, which is a Crusader. I wonder how long that'll last. But I've only dabbled in my Crusader this season right now. Hadn't had a chance to really do anything else.
And are you Paragon 1000 or less?
Much less. I think I've just passed like 600 and something. I'm reaching 700 though.
Remember when that was a lot?
Yeah.
Like 6 years ago? Paragon 200 was a lot at some point?
Indeed. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm only 600. I barely have time to play this season. It's like, okay.
Right.
So speaking of barely had time to play this season, have you noticed any big changes in the whole botting thing? We were discussing this last week with all these.
Well, they
all this
did another ban wave last
they
week.
did.
Is there less botting you see? Are the leaderboards less totally crooked this time?
Yeah, I mean, it seems so, because the wizard leaderboard didn't clean out that much.
You didn't go from 647 to 14 in like one day?
No, yeah, I jumped up crazy. I jumped from off the leaderboard to like well into on it last season. This season, it didn't really do much, so not much botting going on. At least on the wizard side, not much botting that I saw.
So I guess it works if you actually ban enough people. The death penalty is a deterrent, at least in Diablo 3.
Yeah, it's helping. I mean, it's something, and I appreciate it. I'm glad they're still doing it. I'm glad they're keeping on it.
Now, if only they could do the same level of banning that they do with Overwatch that they would do for Diablo. There would be almost nobody playing.
Are there botters on Overwatch? Is that a thing?
Oh, if there's people cheating in Overwatch, you're done forever. You buy a new copy of the game.
Oh yeah. No,
it's done.
That is a really, really good. I did like that method. I thought that was cool.
It's like, don't mess with me.
So if you cheat, they take away Tracer's butt pose or what?
Everything.
Everything. Well, what else is there?
You can't play the game at all. You can't even enjoy it.
Yeah, first defense ban, permaban.
That's it.
What do you even cheat in Overwatch? Like wall, like
I mean, I don't know that there is anything.
Hack. It's a wall hack where you can actually.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, so people can see people behind the walls, and then you can do that. There's also aim bots. I think I've seen some people actually do it. One of my friends was noticing that this person's like automatically like boom, 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 because they saw someone having 100% accuracy and this person played at least 20, 30, 40 hours or something. Like, yeah, there's something suspicious about that.
Wouldn't you play without it once in a while just so your stats don't obviously give you away? I guess it's too easy.
You'd think, but I guess they just didn't care.
Yeah, right, yeah. You would think.
Well, they'll be happy to buy another copy of the game, I guess, right?
They'll never be able to play it, though.
They'll buy it on their friend's house or something.
They might ban their friend at that point.
No one has friends. Okay, so other related topic, we mentioned this a little bit last week. The Warcraft movie just opened. You are definitely a World of Warcraft fan, HolyKnight. Are you excited to see it? Have you seen it? Do you care?
I've seen it. Want to see it a second time, probably this weekend.
So what's your rating? I mean, as a Warcraft fan, and if you were a real person who didn't care about Warcraft, what would your scores be?
Well, if I didn't care about Warcraft...
I mean, as a Warcraft fan, did it give you what you wanted? Did it have all the money shots? Were the characters cool?
I'd give it like a 8.5, maybe, out of 10 on that one. And
if you knew nothing about Warcraft and didn't care, would it have involved you at all, or do you need to know about the game to give a shit?
You probably would have to know a little bit, so if you didn't know, probably 5, because it still had some really awesome, effects and everything in there. Maybe 6, I could be generous if you want. We'll go with that. And
so we were joking last week, it had opened and didn't make much money in the U.S. at least, and of course the next day after the podcast, I looked at it, had the biggest opening ever in China. I mean, of any movie ever in China. It made $65 million the first weekend. And of course, there's so many easy jokes that I don't even know which one to make first. Well, of course, because obviously no one in America went to see the movie. They just paid someone in China to see it for them. No? Maybe?
Maybe.
And people always joke how nobody plays Warcraft in America anymore. Well, obviously no one sees Warcraft in America either. It's only people in the rest of the world. And they all got a 2-week head start on it also because they're special.
They're special. Special.
But yeah, do you have any interest in the Warcraft movie, other person, Nerdwords?
Yeah, actually, I went and saw it opening night twice, and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I know that there's a lot to be said about the movie. I actually went and saw it with people who didn't.
Well, this would be a good time for that, actually, since this is a podcast.
So sorry.
There's a lot to be said, but moving right along.
I didn't know how long you wanted to
we're
go
on a podcast right now, right?
Right, yeah. But no, okay.
Well, I have nothing but cheap jokes and insults of Chris Metzen, so go ahead, please.
All right, fair enough. I played Warcraft as kind of a waiting point for Diablo 3, right? Because it took so long for Diablo 3 to come out. My brother played I played a lot of the RTS Warcraft, and then when World of Warcraft came out, I jumped in, and I played pretty much since the beginning. I'm not diehard, but I've raided. I've done competitive arena and PvP and stuff, and I always jump in for the new expansion because it's always fun. That said, though, I went to see the movie, and even when I don't play the game, I really am into the lore. Similar with Diablo, because I know you hate me for that, but I'm really into the lore of Warcraft. I think it's really interesting and really cool. I've always really, really enjoyed it. So I even when I'm not playing, I read the novels and keep up with the the online comics and stuff because it's just really fascinating world they've built. So the movie was a big deal for me because I am hugely obsessed with the lore and stuff. I went in expecting what I got. And I think that's the reason why I enjoyed it so much. They said from the beginning that it was going to be it was going to have differences from the lore, but it was still going to be true to the game. And I think that they achieved that. It is incredibly disjointed, really fast-paced. If you don't know the characters, it's hard to catch up, I would say. But I did go with people who hadn't seen it before, and they still really, really enjoyed the movie. And in fact, a couple of them went to see it a second time with me. And on a second viewing, it's even better. You kind of appreciate a little bit more of the character interaction and stuff. And honestly, some of the changes they did to the story, they're really, really minor, and they still keep the true core of the Warcraft theme there. And the biggest thing that I hate about reviews on video game movies or comic book adaptations is the one thing you miss from book or comic book to movie is internal monologue, right? Because you're a third party viewing this. You're not viewing it through their mindset, through a first-person mindset. So that internal monologue, that arguing with yourself, you don't get on screen as much. And that is noticeably not there. But there are things that they changed in the story that I still think are there that just weren't put in the movie yet because we haven't gotten to a point to where that really needed to be explained. So I think that a lot of the problems with the movie would be shored up by a sequel or the extended cut. But for a fantasy movie on theater, going to see it, it's a great popcorn movie just to go watch with your friends and enjoy. I really enjoyed it.
Why do you think so many of the reviews are bad?
Because
are they just haters?
They don't get it.
Well, I mean, honestly, reviews are typically done by idiots, in my opinion. I'd never read reviews because that's just valuing somebody else's opinion more than I care to. I'd rather just develop my own. But that said, it's not. it's got a niche following of people that play the game already still. There are a lot of people that played it and hate it because they were a flavor of the month that came in during Wrath and then it disappeared. But the people that love Warcraft and love the lore of Warcraft are true to it and enjoy it, and those are the people I feel like that are going to enjoy the movie a lot more, and the people that come back for every expansion. We all had our discrepancies. I mean, my brother, who's also a diehard Warcraft fan, also hated the movie, but then after a second viewing, liked it a lot more. So I think it's one of those things where if you can divorce yourself from the original Warcraft lore and go in expecting a clean slate, a new story to tell in the universe, but that stays true to what Warcraft is about, I think you'll really enjoy the movie. That said, though, there's a lot of true adaptation there and a lot they stayed true to that I think they should get credit for that they didn't.
So none of that answered the question of why critics don't like it. Is it only for people who are into the game, you think, or
if you're a critic
if you apply the
watching
standards
movie and you don't have any depth in the lore of Warcraft, then it probably felt disjointed, fast-paced, too much information, and not enough explanation on certain things. So I can understand why it would get bad critical reviews. But for those of us that know the overarching story, it made sense to me exactly where it went, and I know where it's going to go next, if it does.
I think China saved it, so we probably will be able to see that. Be nice to see Thrall, personally.
Yeah, see, I actually feel opposite about that, but
Really?
but I agree. Yeah, I'm not a Thrall fan. He's just the character is interesting, but they can't figure out what they want Thrall to do, and that bothers me. And they can't divorce themselves from Thrall because every time they do, they go, let's wait, hang on. Even though we're done with Thrall, we want to move on to other characters. We need to bring him in for this because we need weight to the situation. It's just they need. Thrall's a cool character. They just need to kind of do something better with him in Legion, hopefully.
Definitely be nice, because I think he loses his weapon in Legion, and we take it over for a while. I don't know. That's all I know.
Have you played the Legion beta?
I've only played my Demon Hunter so far and trying to blindly figure out my class.
Well, avoiding spoilers, but obviously it'll be explained. It'll be explained soon.
Everyone stopped listening 5 minutes ago, so you might as well do spoilers. No one cares.
Yay!
Okay, so you're both sounds like you're a pretty big thumbs up on Warcraft movie if people are into
I
Warcraft.
definitely. In fact, I encourage people to go see it because the more people that go see it and don't download it like assholes might mean that we'll get an actual sequel, which would be really cool. It'd be cool to see more because the Warcraft universe is something that you could do 10 movies and 3 TV shows to make it. And if they went in with a Marvel type budget and done it that way, the movie would have been better. But they had to prove that this movie was worth the attention.
They had a pretty big budget, $160 million.
Yeah,
no, they cleared their profit, just in China. So that's awesome. Hopefully it keeps going, and hopefully it's enough for them to consider a sequel.
I'm trying to think of a good joke of a subscription basis of the paying for the movie, but it's not going to work either. So we'll just
try it.
All my WoW jokes are just failing for lack of a WoW knowledge. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so any other thoughts before we get into the whole Wizard Top 10 skill thing? Anything this week? I guess we have the PTR coming up. Obviously, that'll be a little more on next week's show. We have time to give it some testing, and we'll do another character class next week, hopefully Crusader.
Crusader!
No one cares. I was trying to think. I was gonna, I had to obviously do a little bit of research on these and look over the skills of characters I haven't played. And I'm like, okay, Wizard's not bad. I played a lot of Wizard in Diablo 3, Diablo 2. I played millions of hours of Wizard. I played a lot of it Diablo 3 beta early on. It was actually my favorite class going into the game. And I was thinking, I've never played the Crusader. Oh wait, I played a bunch of Crusader in the Reaper of Souls beta, but that was like 4 years ago, and I remember nothing about it. So I was thinking my top 10 Crusader skills. I'm like, I can only think of 2 Crusader skills. There's the one you turn into a horse for like 5 seconds.
That's a cool skill.
And there's Blessed Hammer, which I never liked in Diablo 2 anyway.
Blessed Hammer is the shit. How dare you?
I could not literally think of any other Crusader skills. It's like some kind of a shield bash or something.
Oh,
but
the shield throw, I love it.
Yeah, I do like some of the Crusader stuff.
I'm kind of glad that we're doing Wizard because I actually knew Wizard and I could just briefly research it and remind myself of what the skills are that I like and don't like. Whereas Crusader, I would have been like, oh, that's interesting. They have this game. This is in Diablo 3. Oh, pretty cool. I would have felt like I was researching like Heroes of the Storm or something, actually. Okay, so we're going to do this 10 to 1 a little bit to build a false sense of suspense, and obviously we'll be digressing all over the place. And Nervwords, you set yours up. You said you have honorable mentions. Let me get into the top 10. So just pick it off.
I feel like the honorable mention should come after the top 10.
What? Okay, fine, whatever.
As an afterthought, because they're kind of as we go, I'll probably remember other stuff that I wanted to talk about that I didn't. But
okay, you realize we're not going to actually spend 10 minutes on every single Wizard skill in the game here.
No, I just realized in going through everything that I could probably spend 10 minutes or a half hour on every skill individually on the Wizard class, including passives.
We This is not a 4-part show.
Well, you
so
know
we're
what,
gonna-
motherfucker? We're gonna make it a 4-part.
Highlight.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, that's why I said we should just add notable mentions probably at the end. But starting at 10, least awesome to most awesome. This is kind of one of those, like, I hate this skill, but it used to be my favorite skill. It needs to be amazing again. And it's kind of...
Pause for 1 second. Let me just remind people, this is not a ranking of the most 10 effective wizard skills or the best, the ones that work the best with the current macro game or whatever. It's like, it's a little more generic than that. It's like, this is really cool, or I wish this was better, or something.
Yeah, this
so don't
is
be
just
like,
for fun. I mean...
Yeah, don't be like, that skill is like not as good as this skill. It's like 4.7% less damage, so you can't possibly rate it higher or lower, because then we'll just never let you listen to the podcast again. I will ban you from YouTube.
You will be banned.
Okay, go ahead. Number 10.
Okay, so number 10. So this is Explosive Blast / Wave of Force. It's a two-parter. And the reason why it's a two-parter is because neither of them meet the fantasy of Nova, which how in the hell is there not a Nova in this game? Nova was easily my favorite skill.
There's a Frost Nova.
Or one of them from the Sorceress in Diablo 2. And there's no representation. I mean, Wave of Force kind of is like Nova, but you do this really goofy jumping beam animation. You can't spam it to use it for real damage because it's just, even if you do, I mean, and you can, the animation alone slows you down so much that any other skill is going to be quicker or better for you. And Explosive Blast is honestly just a really boring short-range explosion on your character. I've always felt like it's a super boring skill. The closest thing we have to Nova is the short fuse rune on Explosive Blast. And that is cool, but it's literally like maybe 5 to 10 meters off your character, and that's it. So I really have always wanted a true like Lightning Nova wizard build, and we just don't have that fantasy, and man, that would be really cool if they did. But I do, again, at 10, I'd put Wave of Force or Explosive Blast because they can be cool if they just tweak it. Give me a Nova. I want a Nova.
So Explosive Blast, the coolest thing initially, Wave of Force was, of course, the whole slow time, catch projectiles, and then blast them back out of people.
Right.
That was like in the original Wizard movie. It was like, okay, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Has that ever actually been useful in the game at any point?
Yeah. Well, it's... In T10, it's useful, and then for the Aether Walker, like, Taurash's build in the early seasons, it was useful as, like, a fire proc or as a primary damage dealer for T10 risks where you would just teleport around, jump right onto an elite, and then spam Wave of Force with your Taurash's 4 stack. So it is useful, and I actually used it early in this season for a quick, bounties build. But... it ends up, if once you get all the gear you possibly can and a lot of the best, then Explosive Blast tops it out on damage. And Explosive Blast, you can run while doing it. You don't do this stupid animation.
The other thing I remember about you mentioning Explosive Blast, wasn't that the beginning of the end for Wizard builds? Remember there was, like many seasons ago, there was a whole thing where you got some item that gave you 3 blasts in a row.
Yep,
And it was
Wand of Woe.
I
It's
think.
still in the game. Still does the same
that was
thing.
that was like the best Wizard build for a whole time, right? And it was like the whole thing. Okay, you do 3 in a row, you just run through stuff, and everything gets close to you, and you keep sucking them in, and they all blow up. And that was like, as best I recall, that was the first Wizard build that was totally melee.
Yes. Yep.
And that was like the beginning of the end of when the Wizard lost its way. Would you agree? Yes or no?
I would say so. Yes. I would say that was the beginning, and the nail in the coffin was Audacity. That's what I would say for sure.
Any thoughts on this, HolyKnight?
A wizard doing melee, that's not in the fantasy at all. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
I think it was meant to be supplementary, and it works. Like, I love the way it functions for Taurash's, because you can use it as just like a quick, no cooldown, minimal mana costing, but still high damage dealing spell that procs one of your, elements for Taurash's. It's just... with Wand of Woe, it's so powerful. I mean, it's been part of the T10 meta since Wand of Woe existed. So it's pretty good.
I like how I asked if HolyKnight had any thoughts, and somehow Nerdbirds talked for another minute there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are the Wizard expert, so number 9.
Oh, number 9. Sorry, I should probably have the list right in my hand, huh? Number 9. Okay, so this is Magic Weapon, and I put runes on here for kind of posterity's sake in case you asked, but I really just more the whole.
Well, some of them actually matters, Some of them it's like whatever, but
yeah, Magic Weapon Deflection. And now Magic Weapon I think is both a necessary evil and bad design at the same time, because Magic Weapon is a non-essential, like, if you have nothing else to use, you've got your primary damage dealers, it's just a buff thing that you throw up there, you hit a button, it's honestly just a brain check. Like, remember to hit this button every so often. It's not interesting.
Every 10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it's not interesting. It's not permanent, which is even stupider. Like, I like that the buff is hidden now on the actual skill, but it's still not permanent. I don't understand how that's not a thing, because there's never a case where you're like, you know what, I really don't want to have this increased damage and shielding. But that said, like, it could be, like, it's also a necessary evil, because it's one of the things that keeps us where we are, gives us the damage mitigation that we get, and gives us a pretty good damage increase that's multiplicative. So all the runes for Magic Weapon I think are interesting. I would like to see Conduit, Conduit's the one that gives you arcane power for hitting things with, spenders or whatever. So that's still useful, but I would like to see, like, Ignite or Conduit become more focused around their elements and more useful. Like, I'd like to see it actually, like, the fire damage added from Ignite actually be useful enough to use Ignite, if that makes sense. Or, same thing with Conduit. But yeah, I would say Magic Weapon's definitely towards the bottom of the list,
Weapon,
but necessary.
I made a list. What do I have? I have 7 wizard skills I think are pretty cool, and 4 I think suck. Magic Weapon is the number 1 on my list of wizard skills that suck. It's just boring. It's a wizard war cry.
No, yeah, I completely agree.
It's a passive skill in the active skill tray, It could easily just be a passive skill, right? 10% more damage for X. It's kind of like you said, it's a necessary evil. I mean, I guess it's useful. I remember using this in the old days.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's necessary.
I mean, not all builds use it, but especially when you first, hit level 70 or you're leveling, there's nothing more useful than that. Just added mitigation or added mana regen or whatever it is.
It's basically just companion without a wolf to watch it scratch its balls in the middle of your battle or something.
Yeah, it's a less interesting companion. Yeah.
And I was like, why don't they make it like a little fireball? Oh wait, that's familiar, which is the same goddamn thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we all agree that Magic Weapon sucks, and it's on your top 10 list because you're a bad person.
It's only top 10
list
because it's a necessary evil, bruh. Anyways.
Yeah, very evil.
Yeah. So number 8, I would say Magic Weapon, or not Magic Weapon, but Magic Missile with the rune Split. And that's because I want this to be good. There was a time in the wizard's life where you used primary and you used a spender, and I remember the Hydra days where you would always have piercing orb or magic missile, something like that. But I've always wanted the fantasy of having like almost like a multi-shot demon hunter, but with magic missiles, like almost like a teeth necromancer. That's a perfect spell to do it, and you could have a legendary affix that doubles the amount of magic missiles fired or something, and you use it with Split, and then now you're shooting way more. Which would be really cool, but the damage would have to get there. Compare that with Mirror Ball and then make it triple, basically, which would be cool, too. But I remember when Mirror Ball Firebirds builds were good. That was fun when you're running the Fire Rune on Magic Missile. It's just a good skill spell because it's Fire and Forget, and I feel like those kind of spells are the kind of spells that meet the wizard fantasy. As much as I hate that Magic Missile was even in the game when they first announced it, I was like, that's such a stupid basic spell. It's one of my favorites because it requires skill to play, and when it was viable, it was fun.
Yeah, I like the idea of Magic Missile. I remember when it was, people were like, wow, it's a Dungeons & Dragons skill, but it does kind of work. I mean, obviously it's a range attack, but you don't need range attack.
Well, and especially with them calling it Wizard instead of Sorceress, it was like, okay, this feels a little Harry Potter.
Right.
But when I got to play it, I was like, man, that's badass. I love it. It's really cool.
Any Magic Missile thoughts there, HolyKnight?
Yeah, kind of a boring little spell. It's good when you're leveling up, like they said on other spells, but it just kind of becomes an afterthought later.
Yeah, it really does. It becomes something like way later that's just completely pointless. But I love using it when I get to, and that's especially if you could build like a Taurash's build or a Firebird's build where you're just running around like throwing magic missiles and setting everything on fire, and then just running and letting them burn behind you. That was a really fun build, but it's just still not competitive, really.
Okay, number 8.
You mean number 7? Number 7, number 7, I'd say Mirror Image, because Mirror Image is one of the coolest ideas for a spell. It just needs to be better. There were some builds that were using it early on, especially for mitigation. You could use duplicates and split up 5, copies of yourself. I wish you could cast Mirror Image and actually have them do as much damage as you did, or have them proc the things that you're doing. That would be cool, but I would love a Mirror Image set or something along those lines, because again, the fantasy kind of a wizard, like, probably one of the coolest things. Cooler than even, I would say, the Archon skill, ironically. But I don't know. I think that Mirror Image has always been really underrated, and I wish they would do something more with it because it's really cool. A lot like Magic Missile. It's just something, especially if you like paired Magic Missile, like in the way that I said with Mirror Image, and you were like fanning out Mirror Images, and then you were just spamming Magic Missiles and just peppering the entire field with tons of Magic Missiles. I feel like that'd be a super fun play style.
Yeah, I have that as one of my 7 that are really cool. I mean, it's a nice mixture of offensive and defensive and CC all in one with Mirror Image. I never really used it that much. I remember using it a little bit in the early days, but it's like it's some of them explode, some of them are like lots of them, some of them attack for you with less damage than you.
Right.
It's like a very clever design skill.
Well, and with a notable mention on that with the Illusionist passive, because that with Teleport being in pretty much every build, Teleport plus Mirror Image and then using the Illusionist passive makes Illusionist that much better. So it always resets when you get hit. You're always staying. It's always been a really cool little combination. I just wish that there was more that we could do with it.
MOAR, because MOAR.
Now, okay, so number 6, this one's obvi, but Archon. Archon is awesome. Archon has always been awesome. I've played so many hours of vanilla Archon and all iterations of Archon, Veer's Archon, Firebirds and Veer's Archon. But Archon with the teleport rune is just necessary because teleport is necessary. So if there's a rune for Archon that's the best, I would say teleport. But
I agree with you on that.
Archon is just one of the coolest skills. I like how it changes your character. I hate that it changes the skills you can use. I've always thought that was really stupid. Why doesn't it work like Wrath of the Berserker or Akrats, where you just become a more powerful, like, energy-infused wizard? I think that would be a cooler fantasy, where you're still your same wizard. You're just colored purple and do, way more damage and have way more mitigation. But it is a different kind of ultimate. So I do like that it's got a little more flavor than Wrath and Akrats do. I love me some Archon. And I've loved playing Archon this season as well. Even with the Firebirds and stuff. I thought it was a really cool set right from the beginning.
I thought you always bitched about Archon. It was your least favorite skill.
Well, I mean, it's my least favorite because it was boring. It's not boring anymore. Like the way you're still juggling stacks, but it's not as dependent as it was before. Like, you can run in GM for speed builds or even some high-end builds. You can run Aether Walker if you want to just warp around and skip elites. You can run Furnace if you want to kill elites. Like, there's a lot of different options for weapon, and there's a lot of different options for how you can play it, for speeds, for bounties, for whatever else. So if you learn the build, you can kind of tweak it to what you want, and that's what I like now. Before, Veers, it was you have 6-piece Veers, you have 2-piece Shantotos, and that was it. Like, that was your set. You maybe mixed up jewelry, but even then you really didn't. So, there wasn't a lot of room to wiggle, things to do, and it was way more dependent on stacks, whereas this one's just dependent on the multiplier from the stacks, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I have Archon as one of my 4 worst wizard skills, and here's where I guess, in theory, you're talking about how it used to suck, and now it's gotten good, and I haven't played it in forever, so I have no opinion on that.
Right.
But I liked to use it. I like the idea of changing. I like the idea of getting different skills when you change, and that's kind of a clever concept, right? But I always felt it was so boring because all you could do was shoot, or else you could do one big bomb right on top of you, or you can teleport.
Right.
Like it was a change that just was so limited in what it changed you to, and I always found it really annoying because you can't see shit when you're doing it. You cannot see any incoming projectiles, which I guess you could say is a feature or a bug. I mean, it's like you're super powerful, but you're going to get hit by stuff and you can't tell what's hitting you.
Yeah.
But I just didn't. I like the idea of the concept of it, but I thought the execution was really crappy, and it seems like we're exactly backwards on this one. So you're the other.
I mean, it was bad before, and I mean, I still played it before because it was part of the meta, and you kind of had to do what we were doing. But it's definitely gotten a lot better with the new patch. You should try it.
Do you have any Archon thoughts there, HolyKnight?
I enjoyed the Veers Archon playstyle last season. It took a little bit of getting used to, but using the Archon, like you said, with the stacks, it got very satisfying later on when the stacks got going, rolling, and it's just fun. It really is.
Oh yeah, no, and I should attach to that. The reason I didn't like Veers Archon so much is because my last memories of that is pushing 85s and 90s with Veers Archon solo was not fun. It was the opposite of fun. It was awful.
Yeah,
the opposite of fun.
Always.
Well, I mean, you played it. You play hardcore though, HolyKnight, so I guess you wouldn't have experienced this. But
I don't play hardcore.
Oh, I thought you did. Never mind.
No.
Cool,
okay.
Awesome. I love you so much more now. That's even better. Okay, so yeah, fuck you, Flux. Anyways, so But yeah, no, Veers, like, when you died, it's just you deflate so much, and it took so much more to get your stacks up for Veers, whereas with Firebirds, you know, if you just get the base 50 from Fazula's, you've got enough damage to survive, and enough mitigation to survive, and you can kind of warp around, and then once you get that double stack, even if it's 50-50, you are doing really ridiculous damage, whereas before you had to hit, you know, 100, 150, 200 stacks with Veers before you really started doing anything, and if you died, it's going to be 3-4 minutes before you get back up to full damage.
Yeah, it's really terrible when there's a build where if you die, it actually affects your performance. That shouldn't be in the game. You should always be super powerful
It's okay to
if
affect
you die
your
or not.
performance and have to ramp up, but the amount of time it takes a wizard to ramp up was ridiculous with Veers as opposed to all other classes in the game.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be dying so often there.
Oh my god. I hate you so much.
Softcore player. So cute.
Oh, man.
Why don't you just have a button that magically gives you massive all-time superpower to play at all? Instant Paragon 1000 button. That way you won't die at all. Awesome.
I mean, that would be awesome, but I'd rather just not, you know, have to take a third of the rift to ramp up power to finally do damage just to die to some lag or something stupid and then have to fail the rift. I mean, at least I don't lose a character, sure, but I'm not playing hardcore, so there's a reason.
Yeah, why should power and performance be in any way limited to your actual skill at the game or how you do playing it? You should always just be awesome, just right at the start.
But it's not skill.
Having to play well to get power.
It's the density of the rift that affects it 100% of the time, and having to fish.
Well, it's the density of something that affects it. Okay, next skill.
Oh, shit. Next skill. Okay, so next skill, so this is one that I've thought for a long time, and it's on my top because it's, okay, energy armor, force armor. And I say that because I really liked Vanilla Diablo 3 when it started, the idea of building a low HP wizard that was able to survive through force armor. Because in Diablo 2, energy armor was one of my favorite skills. The ability to utilize your mana pool to take damage rather than your health pool, or at least until your mana ran out, was really, really cool. I don't know why that didn't even make it in any iteration into Diablo 3 at all, but I would love some sort of mana shield rune for energy armor, and maybe they could change force armor or a different one, but I always thought that was really cool in Diablo 2, and I think we're missing it in Diablo 3. Imagine if your mana pool was your health pool, like if it just had it swapped. I think that would be amazing. I think it would be really cool.
You'd be able to do a lot more for sure.
You'd have so much more health. You'd have so much more survivability. I mean, at least in theory. I mean, obviously it would take some testing, but I think it would be at least something cool to try, right?
Indeed.
And that was, of course, the whole game in Diablo 1 and Diablo 2.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You survived as a sorcerer by just having Mana Shield.
But they wanted to make Diablo 3 where your actually hit points actually mattered. It wasn't just about your mana.
Yeah, they also made it to where swords were I still hate the way that mechanic works, where your skills are based off your swords, or off your weapon damage and stuff. But I miss the ability to learn a skill and apply it. But I do. Man, I loved Mana Shield a lot, and I'd love to see it in this game. And I think Energy Armor, Force Armor is the closest thing we got to it. And I wish that the low HP build still existed or could. But obviously with the infinite scaling, that just isn't a thing that's going to be useful. Okay, so number 4 I would put Lightning Armor, Scramble. Again, a Diablo 2 fantasy. Thunderstorm was really cool in Diablo 2. Loved it. Always used it for cows and for your Frozen Orb builds. But Lightning Armor Scramble is still a skill I try to put into every build that I can because of the speed boost you get, plus just everything blowing up with lightning. It's a really cool fantasy and I think is awesome for the wizard. They tried to do something with it with the Halo of Karini they added in, but that ring is completely useless and shows how little they actually understand about what's going on with wizard design, I guess, because it's just not even feasible. But I love Scramble from Lightning Armor. It's just one of the coolest spells, especially one of the coolest armors that a wizard has.
So it makes you, I remember using that one. That was kind of fun. It would give you a little, in theory, that was like, you use your speed boost when you get hit, and you can zip around like defensive, and now it's just like, I want to move fast all the time.
Well, and it works really good in tandem with Endless Walk, because when you're moving, you gain that 50%, damage reduction. So if you take a shot, then you can kind of run around to make sure you don't take any, worse shots or whatever. I feel like any skill that requires you to take a hit is a bad skill anyways, but considering the entire wizard class is reliant upon you being hit by more things than few things, it's awesome, and I just wish they'd find a way to incorporate it a little bit better. It needs to be as potent as Medivh's lightning shield in the Warcraft movie.
Oh, that is potent.
Okay, that sums it right up.
Right? HolyKnight knows what I'm talking about.
Yep. Did not get through it unless you even have a shield.
Give me that in Diablo, please. Give me that amount of lightning, please.
There's your nice cross-platform plug there.
Yeah,
the check cleared this week from Blizzard, I guess, right?
yeah, cha-ching. 50 cents every mention. Okay, and then, so for number 3, this is just my personal favorite spender for the Wizard in general, besides my number 1. I've always wanted it to be more competitive, and it was kind of last season, but in a stupid iteration, Arcane Orb. I love this spell. I love it in Heroes of the Storm. It's amazing the way that it scales. For those that don't know or that don't play Heroes, the damage in Heroes of the Storm makes it to where when you cast an Arcane Orb, it grows in size and damage. So if you cast it from halfway across the map and it's still within range and you hit somebody with it, not only does it reset the cooldown instantly, but it does crazy, crazy, crazy burst damage. I love that iteration. I love the way it's designed. I don't know how that could work in Diablo because everything is so fast-paced, but it's really, really, really cool. Maybe make it where it clips mobs and, reaches an apex of a certain, damage at a certain range or something. I don't know how they could do it, but it's really cool. I picked the Obliteration rune. Of course, Frozen Orb's a notable mention, but Obliteration, I always like the arcane fantasy of Arcane Orb, and just kind of hurling these huge balls of energy and destroying stuff. My dream build would be like a mirror image teleport Arcane Orb magic missile build that was viable for top end, where you teleport around and just are throwing spells and dodging stuff. That sounds fun to me. But unfortunately, it was only good really with Delstairs using the melee Arcane Orbit, which was still fun, don't get me wrong, but not really a part of the fantasy that I like out of the spell.
Yeah, I had Arcane Orb in my top favorite ones too. I mean, again, I'm more conceptual, being as I haven't played a Wizard in forever, but I just liked that it was so slow moving and yet was like all big damage and high cost.
Yeah.
Which is very different from like,
well, the problem is that it's shit
like
damage. Even with multipliers, it takes 4 different multipliers to be good.
I mean, I'm talking like in like Diablo 2, Diablo 3
yes.
beta. It was fun.
Oh yeah,
it was just a variety of this is really big damage, but it's super slow and you got to aim it right. Mm-hmm. Remember you could like outrun it and stuff, and it would kind of come trying to catch up to you and such. It seemed like a nice concept of
yeah.
You have other like pew 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 really fast, smaller damage, and this one's big and like a little nuke that moves slowly. But
yeah,
of course that's long since no longer the case.
Well, and that's how it works in Heroes. Like, there's nothing funnier than firing an Arcane Orb at a dude and him trying to run away from it and just catching him. Like, you see him running and just boom, and he blows up. It's amazing. It feels so good too. But yeah, unfortunately, like it takes Delstairs 6-piece, Triumvirate, Unstable Scepter, and then still like a Focus and Restraint or Endless Walk to make it even viable. Like T10, you can push with 2 or 3 of those modifiers, but for anything above that, you need to have all 4.
Maybe someday.
They'd have to buff the base damage on the spell, and with all the legendaries they've added in now, I don't think that they would without breaking it, because there's so many multipliers now. My number 2 spell was my number 1. But in hopes of a short soapbox, I switched it. So number 2, I put the end-all be-all baseline spell of the Wizard, and should be, honestly, I kind of wish that we just moved this way, but Teleport, Wormhole. It's on well, not Wormhole necessarily, but Teleport, Wormhole as a notable mention for Rune. But everyone uses Teleport. If not, you're doing it wrong. You're not playing the Wizard the way you're supposed to. It belongs with Teleport. And honestly, like, Teleport is always viable in every season in several different iterations, but the Aether Walker wand really needs to be baked into the skill because it could open up the skills to so many different possibilities, and it would be amazing. It would be so much fun. Oh my god! But yeah, Teleport's definitely shit.
I was going to say, what did you think of the initial version where, they were like, I mean, forever, they were like, okay, Teleport's super powerful, so we can only make you use it every so often. There's like a big cooldown.
That made no sense.
And then it's like, now we're just going to make it, you can use it nonstop. And everyone's like, this is the greatest thing ever, which is exactly how it works in every other game.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is that before we had Aether Walker, we still used Teleport Wormhole. We just used with Illusionist, and would teleport into a pack to take a hit to be able to teleport again. So it's like, you were still spamming it, you were just trying to find a way to gimmick it and spam it. So,
So there's just, I mean, do you agree with their initial design thing? I mean, like, it's so powerful, they don't want to have one character that can always move forever super fast. It was a balancing thing, right? I mean, like you can't just vault endlessly with a demon. Okay, you can now, but initially...
Right, but I don't think it is, because
should there be some limits on the movement skills?
I mean, for you to use Teleport, and you use it with spenders and everything else, you have to have a significant amount of resource cost reduction to make that even remotely possible while teleporting around and hitting mobs. You can't just equip one item and be like, oh, well, done now, I can teleport everywhere I want to. Because, Aetherwalker makes it cost mana, and mana is also what you do your damage with. So you kind of have to balance the two. But it's still like, there are still ways to, you have to gear incredibly specifically to make it viable for that, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. It needs to be that way. But I think it would be more interesting if it cost mana anyways, and it had a rune that had a cooldown instead. Like if it was reversed, if it made sense, but then the rune gave it, combine Safe Passage and combine, and make it cost no mana but be reduced cooldown. Right? So it still works the same way it does as Safe Passage now, but then the rest of the runes, like Calamity, make it just cost, 45 mana instead of 25. Make it cost more mana. But either way, there's a way that you could balance it that makes it operate the way it should, and Aetherwalker should just become a different iteration, something else entirely to boost teleport.
Any thoughts there, HolyKnight? Everyone loves teleport, right? You can't not have it on your list.
I have it, and I actually like the wormhole one. The Safe Passage is great for, like you said, mitigation. The wormhole for sure. Just boop, 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 boop. Get around as quick as you can.
Oh, yeah, wormhole's awesome, man.
I love it.
So your bold decision was not making that number one. So what's number one then?
Number one is Meteor. And not because it is the best, but because it fucking should be. Meteor is the amazing wizard skill.
It's a big rock from the sky. So it's just a delayed damage,
awesome.
Really big hit to a targeted area.
Even Talrash's is fun to use just to see all the explosions. It's so cool. It is easily aside from Arcane Orb, the most visceral and satisfying spender that we have, but it's just not viable on any level with any build, except for doing the Aetherwalker, Talrash's teleport around and spam meteors. But now it's just still not going to compete because the damage isn't there. I would love Firebirds to be reworked into a straight-up Meteor set. I know that Meteors are attached to Talrash's, but give it something that boosts the damage for Meteor, something that makes the Meteors, hit, instantly or do, whatever you want to do to change the set. But I would love for Meteor to be a part of the meta wizard damage, because it should be. It really should be, or at least in the conversation.
Yeah, Meteor I like the design of it. I mean, it's a big damage, but you have to aim it. There's a delay. I mean, that's the old days. I'm sure there's different variations now on these things, but it was it's a super big hit. It used to be very expensive to use, but you had to aim it just right, so it rewarded timing and skill and placement, and that's kind of the play style that I like in theory.
Yeah,
I liked it always much better than Blizzard or something like that, where it's just DOT over a big area kind of thing.
Right.
I like ones where it's all or nothing kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know. I think that Meteor, all iterations are cool. I love Meteor Shower. It's really cool. Molten Impact has always been my favorite because it's got the cooldown, but you can reduce your cooldowns and just spam this gigantic meteor, which is awesome. But even the Frost Rune and Lightning Rune is really, really cool. They have really cool animations, and they do different things to the mobs. It's interesting. I just wish that it was enough. I just want something to make it enough.
You have any thoughts on his last few here, there, HolyKnight?
With Meteor, you think it makes sense in the Firebirds. Cause, the full fire, motif. You think they'd have more Meteor stuff based in it. So I feel you on that stuff there for sure.
Well, it's already got some really good supporting legendaries. That the Meteor Wand, I forget what they're called, or the Meteor Staff that makes it to where they all run towards the Meteor. That's really interesting and cool, and a interesting form of CC if you could make it viable. But it's just there's a lot of cool supporting legendaries, but not enough that combine together to make it really, really cool. And that's a bummer.
One day, maybe.
One day.
Do we have any thoughts or even dumb jokes about the whole how do you cast a meteor inside a cave underground?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big debate back in Diablo 2. It's how do you cast anything? It's magic. It's not actually falling from space in 1 second,
Yeah, you're not
Otherwise
grabbing
it would be
a real
an extinction level event.
Yeah, you're creating it out of energy.
Yeah, you're not detonating the entire Yucatan Peninsula and killing off the dinosaurs here. We're just pretending. So I have a couple of other on my favorite you never mentioned. So I will throw those out and see if they're on your honorable mention, or you can tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay.
First off, Electrocute. No mention. Useless today, I understand. This was the coolest skill.
Actually, it's part of the meta.
In the BlizzCon demo in 2008, this was the best skill in the game. That was way back then. Of course, it was 9 years ago, right? God, I'm so old. Back in that days, critical hits with lightning damage caused stun to monsters.
Yep.
So it was like the whole meta was you just do a little bit of Electrocute, it would chain to like 5 things, they'd all get stunned for a little bit, and then you throw in some other skills. I loved aiming it, it was effective, but you had to hold still to use it, so it was kind of the whole channeling skill thing.
Yeah.
The conundrum that never quite works in channeling skills in Diablo 3.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to look at it. You get more things hitting it, it would freeze them all in place, and then you're just like sitting there, like laughing, like cackling madly while they all burn.
See,
it's got a really awesome sound effect and a cool graphic. I understand it's completely useless, but... No, yes, maybe?
No, I absolutely love the skill. Like, I've always loved it. My problem with Electrocute is my same problem with Arcane Torrent, and my same problem with Disintegrate and Ray of Frost. I hate channeling spells. I hate standing still and holding down a button. I like throwing spells and dodging stuff. I like the idea of, like, casting, kind of off the cuff.
Yeah, I agree with
you.
I
don't like the stand still and tank, which is the reason why I don't, as much as I play the Wizard all the time, don't appreciate how much we just stand in a big old pack of stuff and smash. I want that kiting fantasy, that throwing spells and doing ranged damage fantasy from a wizard. I still love the class. I'm still going to play it forever, but I've always wanted that. And if Electrocute became more viable or better, then it would just be a different version of standing still and letting stuff run to you while you blow it up with lightning. But I love Chain Lightning in Diablo 1. I love Chain Lightning in Diablo 2. And it's the closest thing to Chain Lightning we have, even though the Chain Lightning rune is kind of garbage.
So speaking of standing still and blasting things, I also mentioned Arcane Torrent, which is, again, useless,
but a really
I like
cool
the
spell.
Concept.
I love the animation on that.
It's got a really cool aiming mechanism, too. I like the lobbing stuff, It's not just a laser beam, it's not just a targeted area, it's kind of both. You have to, aim it properly. Mm-hmm. You can, lead targets with it, because there's a little bit of delay before it gets to what you're shooting at. I mean, just using it's a really cool concept, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's the whole thing. Wait till we do the Demon Hunter top skills, and I spend 10 minutes complaining about how rapid fire never quite works, and it should.
Yeah.
I want channeled skills to work in Diablo 3. There's just a different sort of a meta, but it's never actually worth the trade-off of standing still. Not being able to kite and move and reposition never quite is worth what the damage increase you get from channeling stuff.
See, you say that.
But I kind of want it to be.
You say that, but it's the exact same... It's in both Arcane Torrent and Chain Lightning are in the meta right now for Wizard. Both of the top builds use them. And it's because you have to stand still, and because it has such a high proc rate. You actually use the forked, or what is it? Is it forked lightning? I think it's forked lightning rune.
Don't ask me, dude.
Yeah, I think it's the forked lightning rune you use it to reset your Archon, that's Arcane Torrent. You use Arcane Torrent static discharge because it procs way more with the lightning, even though it's a fire build using Firebirds, and you use a lightning primary so that you don't proc things with the Firebird 6-piece until you go into Archon. That's how weird and gimmicky it is, but it is a part of the Wizard meta with Archon. And then Chain Lightning is used for the Talrasha build to build mana back up whenever you're spamming Twisters in those Greater Rift 120s. Okay,
I have one other skill I like and one other just WTF question for you on this.
Okay.
No mention of Black Hole on your list?
No, okay. So
I thought it was a nice mixture of targeting and defense and CC and offense.
No, I love Black Hole. I absolutely love Black Hole. I wish it was a bigger part. It was almost on my list, but I had other ones I wanted to talk about more. But I love Black Hole. I love all runes of Black Hole are cool and different and do really interesting things. I wish that they were a bigger part of the meta or a part of it at all right now. They used to be. But I really do love Black Hole. And it is a part of the meta for support. You can run a support wizard that runs Black Hole Event Horizon to pull up affixes in high difficulties, and that's pretty cool.
Does it bother you that it's piranhas without the piranhas?
No, actually, I kind of like it. Because what other spell in the game literally picks up affixes off the map?
Piranhas.
Does it?
But it's got piranhas.
I didn't know piranhas even did that.
It's got as far as I remember, piranhas is basically the same thing. You stick it in one spot and it pulls things into it, and they all get zapped around. But there's skeletal fish teeth in it. I guess wizards don't like skeletal fish teeth, so why would you bother with it?
See, that was my favorite part about playing a wizard running Black Hole, is saving my friend's life when Arcane's about to spawn on him and dropping a Black Hole on it and pulling it in so he doesn't get hit by it.
It probably doesn't work on affixes. But piranhas looks cool.
Yeah,
it sucks monsters.
If you drop Black Hole on Molten or Plagued or Frozen or Arcane, whatever, it pulls the affix into the Black Hole. It gets rid of it off the map. It's amazing.
And it should make that damage then damage the monsters instead of...
That would be amazing. I don't know how you'd even code that without breaking the game, but that would be cool.
Is there an item yet that lets you cast like 12 black holes at once? Like you can now cast like 12
there's
sometimes?
not one supporting legendary for black hole aside from Strong Arm Bracers, which isn't necessarily for black hole, but it does proc off of black hole.
So next season they need like a legendary belt called like I don't know like the Stephen Hawking's belt or something, and it would like give you like triple black holes at once.
Now what is badass is that if you cast Mirror Image, they will cast black hole, and it won't do damage, but it will pull things in. So a really cool way to run a CC support build is Mirror Image plus black hole plus Illusionist. So you're always resetting Mirror Image, and they're always casting black holes. That is really fun.
That would be amazing.
Okay, my last favorite wizard skill is a quick question. Shock Pulse, Living Lightning. My question, WTF?
I hate that spell.
Why did that exist? Who thought it? It's like this walking like stick figure of lightning. It's like why is this in the game?
It's especially as a primary. It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's not good.
It's just bizarre, right? I mean, it's just like
weird.
It's like a bad
useful,
like
for
it's
CM.
like a bad fan mod skill.
Yeah,
and it kind of walks
was
around
for
like a
proc
living.
rate and a proc rate alone, and that was it.
I remember it was useful at one point because it like passed through things, but I just whenever you see that going, you're like, is that a new monster? What the hell am I looking?
What is this monstrosity? Yeah,
that just seems like the weirdest combination thing. Why is it like if it was like a flying phoenix or something, it would be kind of cool. Okay, a lightning phoenix doesn't make much sense. I mean, like if it looked like something else,
Yeah, it's something else.
it looks like a blurry version of like a human stick figure on a stuff. It looks like the old AOL launch button. Remember that little stick figure thing with the big round head? Like this Running Man figure. I remember I haven't seen that skill in forever. Just going to the Wizard skill page, I'm like, is that still in the game? Oh my god, it still is. Okay, so any other? What's your honorable mentions? I have a couple of worst skills you never mentioned either, so I'm curious if those pop up here.
Okay, what do you got?
I've been blabbing. It's your turn. Do you have your I just have two other ones that are on my worst wizard skill list. I wonder if you had them on yours.
Well, I mean, I guess like notable. All I really have other than that I really would want to talk about is, you guys kind of mentioned it on the last podcast, but wizard passives are shit. Like, they're really bad. Like, we have one passive that really boosts our damage at all, and the rest of our passives are just...
Yeah, magic weapon.
It would, well, that's... yeah, okay, so 2 if you count that as a passive, but yeah. The other one,
should be.
The other one is Audacity, and that's the reason why wizards are like, fucked right now, because we have to do our damage within 15 yards to get the biggest modifier we have on our base character. For us to maximize what our class can do, we have to utilize what's in our toolkit. And the most powerful thing in our toolkit is doing 15% multiplicative damage to anything within 15 yards. How is that not stupid? That's really stupid. Like, why can't we have
all the worst behaviors, you know?
Yeah, it's all the things you don't want to do as a wizard.
You think with the spell you would like shoot from a distance. You think further away, the bigger the explosion, the bigger the damage. No.
Nope. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. And then on top of that, too, they also add in things like Halo of Arliss, which makes it to where you want to be in close range. So it's like, paired with Halo of Arliss and Audacity, that is the reason why every build is focused on those two things. They're easily the most powerful things and most intuitive things that work together better than any other skills in the Wizard toolset. So it's just... Stupid. I hate it forever. It's dumb.
Hate it forever, like Gollum.
Yeah, I also, even though it was on my top 10 because of Nova, I hate Explosive Blast. I wish it wasn't in the game. I wish it would just be deleted.
Okay, one other you didn't mention is on my least favorite skill, Disintegrate.
Okay.
Just boring. You stand there and you spin in circles. I kind of like it when you get 2 beams and you can aim it a little bit, but it's just Archon without movement. You know?
Agree. That's kind of the reason why I actually kind of like it for that reason. When they first posted about it in the original vanilla beta, I was like, this looks dumb as shit. What is this laser beam thing? That's not my sorceress. That's not, whatever. But I actually do like it a lot, using it with towels when you first hit 70. It's a really cool, it's a really good high damage dealing spender that you can use with roughly no gear, and it's about the best you got that you use in tandem with Explosive Blast until you actually start getting sets. But yeah, Disintegrate, Explosive Blast, Magic Weapon, Teleport, and then Chain Lightning or Magic Missile, some sort of primary, is a really good starter 70 build to use. So it's hard to hate on it, but you're right, it is incredibly boring.
And I mean, I thought at least what's the ice one?
Ray of Frost.
Ray of Frost.
Terrible.
At least that one is At least that one you have to aim it, and you can't.
Yeah, but
just
it hits.
shoot
So
everything
it's
in
the
one
same
direction.
thing Disintegrate is, but it hits one fucking guy. How is that?
Yeah, but see, that adds some element of strategy.
The strategy of why are
always.
you using that skill because you're bad. Nobody uses that for a reason, and if you do, you're using it for black ice to proc other things, not because it's actually doing good damage.
Well, what if?
But see, that at least it's not the exact same thing as Archon without movement, which is Disintegrate.
Yeah,
I do kind of like Disintegrate, the whole piercing thing, he gets less damage with each target. That's kind of clever. But nobody doesn't care. The other one I mentioned was Hydra. I mean,
see, I love
Hydra.
Hydra. I miss Hydra.
But see, I haven't played it since you could only have one at a time. That always annoyed the hell out of me. That was the whole fun thing in D2, was putting out 3 of them.
Yeah.
And putting them in clever positions, and you had a cooldown of 3 seconds, and they lasted 10 seconds. So you had to get this rhythm going where you're always getting a new one out at least every 3 seconds and putting it where you're going to be next.
Right.
And in D3 always just was so lame to me. You get one, and if it's in the wrong place, nothing happens. You have to try to lead stuff to it. It's like a stationary tiny blizzard. I really hated how it worked.
But it's also one of our highest damage skills, though.
So they've buffed it a ton in the last 50 patches. So what is the deal with it now? You can have up to 2 of them with one weapon, I think. One wand gives you 2.
It's not much different with the 2. It's still pretty much the way it was before. The 2 helps, but it would be nicer if you could just cast as many as you could. That'd be cool, the way it was.
But it's only 2, right? That's the most you can have.
Yeah, just 2 right now.
And they buffed the damage a bunch, right? At some point, so.
It does way better damage now. The 2 best, if you're just a naked wizard running around, Hydra and Explosive Blast are the 2 most powerful spells for a wizard, easily. And in tandem, they're pretty much necessary, which is why. If you're running Firebirds right now on PTR, people are trying out Explosive Blast and Hydra builds, probably using Magic Missile or some other fire spell to proc that, but it's just not good.
Not like the old days.
Okay, I have one last wizard skill, the worst skill of wizard, become male.
What is it?
I'm not sure why that's in the game. You should never be able to make your wizard male. Obviously, it's some kind of typo or misprint. I think we can all agree on that one, right?
Yeah, I hate the male wizard. He doesn't exist. He's a lie. The female wizard is queen.
Yep.
That's sort of a passive skill, the whole become male, become female thing.
Yep, there's not even a debate there. That's just the way it is. If you play male wizard, you are wrong. It's okay, I forgive you. But re-roll next season, it'll be all good.
So, HolyKnight, have you played a wizard in recent seasons? If not, why not? And what change could they make to the class that would make you want to roll a wizard next season?
Let's see. I played
very, very simple 5-word answer to that question, I'm sure.
Played last season, enjoyed Veers. Would do it again if I had time this season. I haven't tried that Bug Firebird set, but it won't matter anymore soon enough anyway. The only way I'd probably really play a wizard is if they nerfed the Crusader to the ground. No ideas, please, Blizzard. No ideas. No. Don't do it.
Actually, they're nerfing wizard to the ground, so you're half.
I forgot to mention earlier that we didn't even bring it up, but on top of nerfing, changing, redesigning Firebirds, apparently the other build that's pushing above 100, 120, the Taurash's Twister build, remember how they nerfed the cap on Twisted Sword last season?
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently they just did it in the tooltip because it's still infinitely stacking, hence why it's doing so much damage. Even if it only shows 8, it's still infinitely stacking, so in the patch they're fixing that too. So now both of our builds that were actually competitive are gone, and everything's what do we even do now?
Experiment,
just
learn.
Roll Demon Hunter, the real wizard.
Or just go Crusader.
Okay, so we're getting to our time. Any last thoughts, HolyKnight? You're going to hop off here in a second. We're going to bring on Captain Goldfish for his top 3 or top 5 wizard quick hits at the end.
I'm pretty good at this point. Sorry, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for getting in here and work on your wizard next season after they nerf Crusader to the ground.
All right, we'll do.
And thanks. Do you want to give us a quick move before you go?
No.
Okay. Excellent.
Nice.
Okay. Thanks, man. Okay, we are adding in Captain Goldfish here. I told him to get his top 3 or 5, make it solid gold, like no filibustering.
No filibustering.
Ahoy.
Hello.
An appropriately nautical metaphor for your greeting.
Yes.
Okay, so we've just covered all of our top 5 and bitched about some stuff, or top 10, and now you were going to jump in. You're doing a lot of wizard play. You weren't available to start the podcast here, HolyKnight was, and now you're jumping in. I told you to give us your top 3 or 5 and count them down, and we're going to just mostly let you talk because we've been doing a lot of wizard debating, and Nerdvert's going to tell you why you're wrong.
Okay, well,
So what have you got for us?
I'll probably be repeating the same thing that you guys have already talked about.
But for different reasons.
Different reasons, yeah.
Different reasons, bro.
The entire, my list is going to be my 5 favorites and most disappointing wizard skills. and
Is Jay Wilson part of this list?
they're the same.
Oh, you said wizard skills. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
I just heard this. I heard the disappointing part, and my mind went blank.
yeah, they're the same. They're the same skills. They're my favorites, and they're the most disappointing when I tried them because I was so looking forward to them after playing a sorceress in D2 for so long. So
Yeah, I just talked about Hydra for 10 minutes. That would probably be on this list.
oh no, yeah. Okay,
So go ahead.
So number 5, and I put 2 different ones in the same. I'm putting Blizzard and Meteor in the same category.
Nervers have Meteor number 1, so this could be some fisticuffs.
Number
here.
1 overall.
Okay, so what's your reasoning here, Captain Goldfish?
Okay, number 1, his number 1 favorite.
Indeed.
Okay, well, it was. All these are my favorites, but number 5.
To be fair, actually, mine's the exact same as yours. Favorite, but also that it's bad.
Yeah. So Blizzard, I want it to be so good because it's supposed to be what a wizard is, calling down death from in the form of precipitation, and looks good as 1,000% damage, but it's over 6 seconds, so it's like the same as hitting things with your primary skill. It was so
magic missile from the sky.
Yeah. So it like hits everything for just a little bit, and it was just so disappointing when you finally get that skill, and it's just so bland. It's like things are just getting slightly cold and wet from your blizzard. So that was my.
It sounds like Oregon weather.
Yeah, but I really wanted it to work, and it had a brief comeback with the Firebird set, where before the Halo was kind of discovered, people would just use the blizzard to light things on fire. It didn't really do the damage. It helped with getting the burn. So, and I put Meteor in there just because it was kind of the same. I kind of had the same feeling for it, but and Meteor had kind of a resurrection with the Tal Rashes set, but it just
you're not even casting them.
Yeah, you don't cast them, and what happens is you'd have to do 4 skills to get your buff up, and then your huge Meteor would hit some fallen on the edge of a screen.
Yeah, there's that too.
Who immediately gets resurrected by a shaman. So it just really disappointing. So that's my number 5.
I agree, and that was the same for me. Like the Meteor, I love Meteor. Love the way it looks. It should be our most damaging spell. It's not. That's stupid. The fact that Explosive Blast has a higher modifier on the base skill is broken. Doesn't make sense at all.
Right,
I get risk reward factor, but Meteor should be our nuke. That should be our giant spending nuke. And even if you spam it, like you said, the 6-second delay. I mean, I get that there needs to be a delay, but yeah, I agree. And we didn't talk about Blizzard, but my notable mention on Blizzard, the Fire Rune is named Apocalypse, which was the jam in Diablo 1, so I did appreciate that.
Yeah, so that's my number 5. Number 4, Teleport. I love the skill, but it was super disappointing to find that you could only had such a long cooldown. It felt like you weren't moving around like the sorceress was in D2. And you had.
If only there was an item that changed that effect.
Well, that came later, and you could also use the passive to make it usable, which is kind of okay because there's not a lot of passives that are worth. There's so many bad passives, so.
You guys definitely agree. Yeah, Teleport was Nerber's number 2, and we had a whole thing about how bad the passives are.
Yeah, so you could use Illusionist to make Teleport work kind of as you would want it to.
Yeah.
But the first time I played a monk, I was wondering, why does the monk have the wizard's teleport skill?
Yep. Dashing Strike is better.
Yeah.
And that's
why that doesn't make any sense.
I didn't even bring that up, but yes, that's totally true.
Yeah. So number 4, that's that.
Why? Yeah, they should do a kind of Dashing Strike, like the way the Dashing Strike build works, where you can like build up charges and cast it that way, and then have it also be like work mirror image into the set somewhere to make it just a full on. That would be so cool, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that would be fun. So it's my favorite. I still use it, but it's also disappointing.
Yeah, agreed.
So number 3 is a little bit different on my list. This is kind of a personal one that doesn't have anything to do with Diablo 2 and my own anticipation. I like Arcane Torrent. And I probably like it because it was my first skill that I seemed to be making some real damage with. and I like just the way that you can cast it, and there's a bit of a delay, but then you can like move it around and change where it's going to hit in the midstream. I just like that one.
Yeah. We talked about that too. That wasn't on my list, but it was definitely a notable mention. It's obviously used in the meta. I'm sure you know. So
yeah,
it's
we use it
still
now,
useful, but not useful because damage. Useful because procs.
Yeah, which doesn't make me feel good about it.
Exactly.
I want it to be like, and I kind of like the idea of the channeling offhand, but there's just no build that uses it for damage, which is what I would like it to be. So
yeah, we had a whole debate about channeling skills, and I think that should be an awesome skill too. I mean, I don't repeat what I said 5 minutes ago, but that you have to aim it, that it's like it doesn't just hit everything in a straight line,
Yeah, but then you can follow.
It should be cool,
things.
but it's just never quite worth the whole standing still thing.
Yeah, that's true. But I like it, and I want it to work because it feels good. So
okay, keep rolling.
Number 2 is Arcane Orb. Frozen Orb is what I was thinking. Sorely disappointed when I first got that on my bar playing a wizard. And I've never used it and always wanted to use it. In Diablo 2, you just shot that thing all over the place and you chilled things and destroyed things. Just never worked for me. But I always wanted it to work and I always wanted to use it. And even with the Delceres set, it just wasn't. I could never get it to work right. You had to have.
Now, I will say that I used it I tried to push Obliteration Rune rather than Arcane Orbit, and I still was able to clear pretty high, but obviously not super competitive. I was on the leaderboard with it, but to push into like the top 200 whatever, it took using Arcane Orbit, which is the opposite of why you want to use Arcane Orb.
Yeah, exactly. And I hated. The last time I used it, I skipped a season. I skipped 2 seasons on Wizard. So I kind of missed out on the different changes. But, you had to have them in the slow time bubble and then cast it seemed ridiculously convoluted.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was still fun, but
isn't that every wizard build?
Yeah, every wizard build.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to do a lot of stuff to get that short window of damage. And so, and my number 1 skill that I really was looking forward to and sorely disappointed was Hydra.
That was top of my list for that same category.
Yeah, I wanted that. And for one thing, I think a Hydra should have 3 heads. So the Mammoth Hydra just annoys me. So I wanted the Hydra. I wanted the fireballs shooting out. I wanted more than 1, and even 2 with the Serpent Sparker is not enough. I wanted at least 3 3-headed Hydras that shoot fire.
Raise the mana cost. Let me spam it, please.
Yeah, and when it first came out, I think Poison was one of the big
dude,
too.
the Poison Hydra was so sick. It was fun. But
so that worked.
Moved that.
But yeah, so Hydra was that was kind of my dream of what I wanted my wizard to be. I loved Hydra, and they and I remember playing Diablo 2 when I joined the game, and as soon as I put out a Hydra, everybody left and went to town because they thought I was gonna kill him with the Hydra bug.
Yeah.
They probably would have deserved it though.
Yeah,
right?
well, and that was kind of annoying because you obviously couldn't change your skills, and that was your damage skill back then. So.
Yeah.
But I miss the Hydra, and I don't like the Mammoth.
I miss Arcane Hydra. I really like Mammoth Hydra. I really like the Lightning Hydra. It's cool. The Frost Hydra is kind of really bad, but I really like. I really like using Hydra just in general. I always wanted the Arcane Hydra with like a ranged Arcane Orb and Magic Missile Split and then Teleport and Mirror Image to be like a viable pushing build to just like throw shit everywhere, purple explosions all over the place, but it's a skill-based build,
Yeah, I'm okay with the Arcane Hydra because it looks pretty similar. It's not. It shoots up the little arcane balls, right? And
it still has 3 heads. It just does AoE damage and explodes. It shoots other arcane orbs. So if you run Mirror Image with that and then with Magic Missile and Hydra and you spam because your Mirror Images will cast all of that, it's just like the screen explodes with purple explosions everywhere because there's arcane orbs flying all over the place. It rules.
Yeah,
but it doesn't do any actual damage, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things that I liked that just never did any damage. It's like you're doing all this stuff, you're throwing stuff everywhere, and it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are. But these are all my favorites, and they're all just completely disappointing over the years. They've all come into play in sets, but never quite how I wanted them to, and never when I wanted them to. Yeah.
And a lot of this could be fixed if we had an answer for Halo. If we had something that gave us damage besides Audacity, if we had something that inspired us to be beyond 15 meters from everything we killed.
And the new
15
ring,
yards or whatever.
The new ring, I can't even remember what it does, but it doesn't.
Halo of Carini. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's such a joke.
It doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't. I saw it and I was like, and and they're really pushing it too. You realize that they still didn't learn because in the patch notes, the new PTR, they added in Starfire's affix. You do 15% increased damage for every yard between you and the mob. So, which sounds cool, but like, I just don't know that it's going to be there.
Well, nothing's going to, as long as you get so much damage reduction and damage from being right in the middle of the pack with the bracers and the Halo. That's going to be the only.
Yeah.
That's going to be it. And it's
okay. Any final thoughts on the Wizard for you? Good, interesting take going with the top 5 that should have been but aren't. Lucky this wasn't about the Barbarian. It would have been the entire list.
Hey, speaking of which, I didn't even bring this up, dude. But I actually have a level 70 Barbarian that I have been playing. I've been playing a different class.
Did you lose a bet or what?
No, I actually I had a couple of friends who came back to the game and jumped in. One of my friends wanted to play Wizard, so I helped power level him and gear him out. And then once he got some gear, I realized that it was pointless to run 2 Firebird Archon Wizards, so I swapped and rolled a support barb. And it's actually super fun, just yoinking things into a pile.
So you're playing a barb, but you're just a support barb. You're not really a barbarian.
I mean,
you're like
there's
an
not
abomination.
Really any other class to me, but it's still a part of the meta that I can switch out. That's nice.
So your only experience of the barbarian is being a ZDPS. That's just a little.
Well, I mean, I played barb in vanilla and when Reaper launched, and I played it a little bit at top end. But yeah, I literally just built it. But I also built that support build in like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and he was ready to go. So yeah,
close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, we are right out of time limit. Any final thoughts, guys?
I love the Wizard a lot. Everyone knows this. I could talk about the Wizard for 4 more straight episodes, and probably will the next time I'm on. But yeah, a lot of these skills. I mean, and obviously the Wizard's still performing well, and I still have fun playing the class. But man, my fantasy of a Wizard still hasn't been met, and when that happens, I will be so stoked.
Right. Yeah, I've skipped the last couple of seasons. I played seasons 1, 2, and 3. And it's nice now to be in the damage of the group. When I stopped playing Wizard, I couldn't even get keys to do the greater rifts that I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was you had to have a DH just to get keys to do the content. So it's nice to be come back to Wizard and have it actually be welcome in a group.
Yep. Yeah, it's super nice.
And they seem to be in a good place as far as like having options. There's lots of different options, even though they're all based around Archon right now. At least there's multiple different builds that actually can work.
Yeah, but they're both working because they're broken and they're both getting nerfed in the next patch.
That's true.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, but still.
Ride the wave for the next month, fellas.
So in conclusion, everyone should play Wizards because they're awesome. Is that
well, I mean, I've said that since day one. That hasn't really changed. But yes. Wizard is the only real class. Wizard Master Race.
Except when it wasn't true. Other than that, it's always been true, though.
Right. Well, and I wouldn't recommend anybody in hardcore play them because you're going to kill them off.
Yeah, that's probably a bad idea.
If you don't know how to, if you don't know how to play them, you're just going to die.
And your biggest wish for both of you was that they would someday have a ranged attack, an actual viable build that was like ranged completely.
Yes, beyond T10, beyond to actually push.
And maybe you could use Hydra too, just in case.
That'd be cool.
Cast 5 Hydras at once.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But only one of them actually does damage. The rest of it, it's like mirror image Hydra.
Well, I think it'd be cool if they did something to where, like, kind of like sentries. You gain increased damage for every Hydra you have out, or something. Like that'd be cool. Or maybe you gain increased damage for every mirror image you have out, or I don't know. So like there's things that they could do. They just have to do them. And I don't know if they'll do it this far in the game's life cycle, but it would be really, really. I mean, they got to do something because if they're gonna fix the twisters to actually not infinitely scale the way they're supposed to last patch, and if they're gonna fix Firebirds, then they really, really, really have to come up with something else because Delstairs is not going to push what everyone's pushing. It's not going to push 95 plus. We've got to find something that will.
Yeah, maybe even like a Hydra that gains more damage as it's active. So like when you cast one in that area, it's going to keep ramping up the damage, but then you move on to the next one, so it's not. I don't know. I'd like to see something.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
How about like an Arcane Torrent that shot black holes? Would that be pretty cool?
Oh my god. Give me all the black holes.
Probably not. Okay, thanks. Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at diabloyi.net. We will be back next week with another show covering some of the new PTR stuff and another class, possibly Crusader, if Leviathan can clear his schedule next time. And I will know more than 2 Crusader skills by then, with any luck. Thanks for jumping in here with your last-minute top 5, Captain Goldfish. And thanks for your time, other person, 9 words, nerd balls.
Nerd balls. I like that one better.
Okay, and moo. 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 Moo.